Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. And happy Hanukkah to everyone across the world. The Festival of Lights begins this evening. No talking points memo, because we have a big interview with the 42nd president of the United States, Bill Clinton, who has written a new bestseller called Back to Work. Now, we've been trying to get Mr. Clinton on the Factor for years, and tonight it has finally happened. All right, what I want to do here tonight, Mr. President, is solve the nation's problems here. Just you and me, we can do it.
We can do it.
Are you up for it?
I'm up.
All right. What's this class warfare business that Democrats are hoisting on the country? What is this? We didn't see that during your administration.
Well, you know, I don't look at it as class warfare. I think if you look at what's happened over the last 30 years, the middle class has lost ground. Even before the recession, the collapse, before the financial collapse, median income was $2,000 a year lower than it was after inflation when I left office. So I don't mind paying more taxes, but because I think I got the benefit of the tax cuts under President Bush and the benefit of being in the top 1%, so my income went up. But that won't solve the problem. That'll help us balance the budget when there's growth again. But we have to change the whole job structure of America. We've got to basically reorient our economy toward the future. That's the real answer.
But that's not being discussed. What's being discussed by the Occupy Wall Street people and by some elements on the far left is the one percenters. Me and you, we're not paying our fair share. I think I am paying my fair share. Now, I didn't mind paying what you had me at. Yeah. I didn't mind paying you that. But do you know among you, Obama, and Bush, who had the highest tax receipts of all three of you? Do you know? Bush. So under prosperity, the tax cuts under Bush, more money flowed into the federal government. So Erskine Bowles comes back and says, let's cut the corporate tax from 35 to 26. What does Obama say? What does the president say? No.
But if you look at what the Bowles-Simpson Commission recommended, I think there are a lot of great things in that report.
Then why didn't the president take them?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. But I think what Bowles-Simpson did is what I think should be done, some variation of it. They said, this long-term debt's going to kill us. We have to deal with it. Let's adopt some short-term strategies to get growth going. Then let's have a long-term debt reduction package. That's what I think we should do. And I think it'll work.
But I was surprised that the president didn't embrace it because it gave him a pathway out of the mess, and that's where we are right now. Now, one more question about the class warfare. Are you really convinced the Democrats aren't playing this card? Because that's all we hear is tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. I don't mind paying 40%, and that was the high under you. All right, and Bush cut it back down to 34%. But I don't want $500 billion going to Solyndra, and it's bankrupt. Am I crazy?
No, but I think the idea of moving to a cleaner energy future and doing more energy efficiency makes smart sense. And what happened to Solyndra was a unique case, with the Chinese producing more and subsidizing more, and with Americans in the business doing more. The price of the traditional photovoltaic cells dropped so much that it became an uneconomical thing. I personally prefer tax credits for people that actually produce it, because then if you and I have a different technology, we're on even footing.
In your book, you say the key to getting the economy started is to get the banks to start lending money. Well, how are you going to do that? You can't force the banks to lend money.
No. Well, first, I said there's two big pots of money that don't run up the deficit: banks and corporate treasuries. I recommended in this book that we essentially let corporations repatriate their money with no tax if they hire more people with it. And if they pay the capital gains rate, they can do whatever they want to, and then we should take that money and seed an infrastructure bank and then take private capital. Do like other countries. Most other countries let private investors and from all over the world invest in their infrastructure and just use their government funds as the base to attract the private capital.
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So you could do that.
Okay. Now, 28 attorneys general don't want Obamacare, suing the federal government. 28 out of 50. All right? I want you to make a prediction. Supreme Court going to overturn that?
I doubt it. I hope not.
Well, I know you hope not. You're a nice Democrat, you're a loyal guy, but the individual mandate, very troubling in the Constitution. Wouldn't you say that is the big hinge?
I look at it in an entirely different way. Let's look at it just pure economics. The people who are defending the status quo are defending a system that is the only system in the world that charges 17.5% to insure of income every year to insure 84% of the people. No one else, no other rich country in the world spends more than 12% of income to insure 100% of the people. And we don't get better health outcomes. And we're spotting our competitors a minimum of $850 billion a year. It's terrible economics.
But you know the solution to that
system.
You know the solution to that. Let the insurance companies compete statewide. Let everybody get in the game, drive the price down.
Let your insurance companies compete across state lines.
That's right.
In other words, create a national market for insurance. While you're saying we should create a state by state choice.
No, let the states regulate. Let them regulate what happens there, but let everybody compete. And again, your party doesn't want that. They want that.
That's one place where I agree with the Republicans.
I think you're going to have to defect here, Mr. Clinton. That's what I'm hearing here.
No.
I think you might have to defect.
I'm for the individual mandate. That's the conservative position, the individual mandate. But I do believe that insurance companies should be able to compete.
Look, the businesses, you know it, they're going crazy. They don't want this. Nobody wants it in the business community.
Well, nobody wants what they've been told about it, and we've taken long enough to get through it. But I think
it's not
there's no reason we couldn't have the idea that we have to spend 50% more than any other country on health care is nuts.
I'm agreeing with you. Let it go into the free marketplace. You'll drive it down. Now, I got to give you a hard time on the border. You ready for a hard time on the border? All right, you took office '93. About 4.5 million people were coming across the border. You left office, 7 million people a year coming across the border. Why couldn't you secure it?
Because the economy got better. It's a long border.
Well, I know.
We had a fence, you know, in San Diego.
And it worked.
It worked pretty well.
Well, why didn't you put it down in Brownsville all the way through?
Because, for one thing, back then, even the Texas Republicans didn't want it.
But you could have done it by executive order. Who cares what they want?
I don't know if I could have or not, but nobody was upset about it then. People were moving back and forth across the Rio Grande.
I was upset.
I know you were, but I think it's a mistake. If you really think we ought to build a whole fence, that's about the only way to secure it.
And I do. I do think the federal government has let us down since 1984, in the sense they have not secured the southern border, and they could have, and they didn't. Okay. Guantanamo Bay, you close it?
I'm not sure that I know enough to know that.
Come on, you've been there.
But I would, I don't believe I'd ever opened it in the first place, but I'd like to see it closed.
Really? You wouldn't have opened it in the first place? Where are you going to put all these captured terrorists overseas? Where would you have put them?
Well, I think there are places they could be kept in America.
But then as soon as they go on American soil, they have the rights of the American people under the Constitution. And these are
That's not necessarily true. I have a big difference of opinion about what the law should be. I might have tried to change the law on that.
Okay. Today, Vice President Biden said, actually it was printed today, but he told Newsweek magazine the Taliban is not an enemy of the United States. Since you had to deal with the Taliban, training al-Qaeda before 9/11, you certainly know what the Taliban is all about. And I believe the Vice President is wrong. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't know that they trained them, but they certainly gave them safe haven.
No doubt.
And they would give them safe haven again if they were free to operate in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
Which is one of the reasons I've always supported our mission there. And I think what the Vice President probably was saying is al-Qaeda was our affirmative enemy. They were trying to kill us in America. They were trying to kill us in Iraq and elsewhere, in Africa and lots of other places. And the Taliban itself had not conducted out-of-area operations against us. That's probably true. But that doesn't mean that I think we should not be really concerned if they were to govern Afghanistan.
Again.
One of the things that I would be concerned about, and I always have been with the Taliban, is how miserable they made life for so many women and little girls.
Absolutely.
And that, you know, I mean, just downright abusive things.
Evil. It's evil. Now, one correction, I missed 100 million for Solyndra, not a billion. Now, in part 2 of my interview,